Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 1 of our Social Emotional Learning Parent Workshop for Social Emotional Learning Skills for middle and high school students. I hope everyone's doing well tonight, and I look forward to spending the next hour or so with you. I have set the course up so that each week we spend about 30 minutes learning about the skill and practicing the skill, and then the last 30 minutes are available for questions and answers. And at that time, if there's any other skills in that domain that you're interested in learning, please share, and I'd be happy to either teach the skill right then, email you information, or cover it during our next session. This workshop is skill-based versus group therapy. So the main difference is with skill building, we're learning a skill and we're practicing it. Group therapy is more talking about any maybe mental health concerns or issues in the home. We do want to respect everyone's privacy, so we ask that we keep it strictly to skill building and how we can help support you in the skills in the home. If you do have any mental health concerns that you would like support with, you can reach out to your school counselor and they can help get you connected to the right resources, or you can reach out to our mental health program specialist, Ashley Sanders, and her information is on this slide. So we're going to get into what social emotional learning is in a minute, but let's first talk about why social emotional learning is important. So social emotional learning can improve academic outcomes. Students that were exposed to social emotional learning had an 11 percentile point gain over students that were not exposed to social emotional learning. So that's a pretty big percentile gain. And academically, social emotional learning skills help support the students in their learning. Students that were exposed to social emotional learning in kindergarten showed a positive impact up to 18 years later on academics, conduct problems, emotional distress, and drug use. So that's a pretty big deal that 18 years after exposure, students were still showing benefits for social emotional learning, which just really continues to highlight the importance of it. Other benefits include academic performance, which we talked about, emotional well-being, and social behavior. So the skills that we're teaching them now has a long-term impact and has positive outcomes for them later on in life, even after they've graduated high school and gone to college. For every dollar invested in social emotional learning, there's an $11 return. So this can come in the form of a decrease in hospitalizations and the financial burden of that. This comes from reduced instances of incarceration, reduced instances of individuals on public housing waiting list and receiving public assistance, which is improving the lifetime outcomes, which is the last bullet point on this slide. Social emotional learning skills can also reduce poverty and improve economic mobility. So there are so many benefits to social emotional learning and teaching the skills to our students and our children. And I'm here to help support you through that. So if you ever have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'll include my email at the end. CASEL.org is a powerhouse of social emotional learning resources. It stands for the Collaborative of Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, and they have all sorts of guides and program analysis and statistics and data and studies. So if you're ever interested and want to, explore that site, castle.org is the site to explore. I spend so much time on that site, and every time I'm on there, I find something new. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. You will never be bored with it. Okay, so this is from Castle, and this is the social emotional learning wheel. And social emotional learning is broken up into 5 domains, as you can see in the center there. There's self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. And they actually just this week, so this is the first time I get to use their new graphic, updated the social emotional learning wheel. And what they did is on these outer circles, it used to be the community, but they recognized that family and caregivers are so important, so they gave them their own little circle in the wheel, which is a great addition. So in the classroom, social emotional learning will look like social emotional learning instruction, which builds a good classroom climate. In the school, there might be a school-wide practice, there might be school-wide policies. Every school is a little different, so how they would implement that might look a little different. Some schools do morning announcement videos with social emotional learning, and some schools incorporate it in with their positive behavior support system. The families and caregivers are next, and that's forming partnerships with the classrooms and schools. So if something's being practiced in the classroom or school, giving the family the opportunity to carry on that skill and encourage their student to practice it in the home. And then the last is the communities with our partnerships. So this could be sports teams or after school care. So really forming partnerships with them as well, so we can carry on the things that we're doing in the classroom and in the school out into the family and the community, and those skills can be used more effectively. So we're going to get into what the 5 domains are a little bit more, and each week we're going to focus on a new domain. So this week we're going to be focusing on self-awareness. And this is the ability to accurately recognize your emotions and thoughts and how they influence our behavior. So often we have a feeling that comes up, which causes us to have a thought, and then we act on that thought. So if I get a bad grade on a math test, I might have an emotion of sadness and think I'm terrible at math, I'm never going to pass. And that thought might influence me to not study again. So our feelings create a thought, which influences our behavior. Self-awareness isn't just feelings, though. It's knowing who we are as a person and our morals and our values and our strengths and our weaknesses, and being able to play to our strengths and being able to build up our weaknesses. So self-awareness is about more than just our feelings. Self-management is what we'll discuss next week, and this is the ability to regulate our emotions and our big behaviors and our thoughts. Self-management is generally the big focus is emotion regulation, but self-management also includes goal setting, managing stress, organization, time management. So just being able to manage the day-to-day obstacles in life in general. Social awareness. So this is being aware of what others might be feeling or their perspectives others might have, showing empathy and compassion, being inclusive, respecting and appreciating diversity. Next is responsible decision making, and this is just what it sounds like, the ability to identify a problem, think of what the solutions might be, come up with some pros and cons for each solution, and then decide ethically what is the best decision, not only for myself, but for everyone involved. So something that might benefit me might not benefit someone else, and being able to think about that and work through that. And the last domain is relationship skills. So this is us being able to communicate with others, build new friendships, maintain healthy friendships that we've already had. So this is really all about relationship building and all the things that go into that, including teamwork and being a team player. Okay, any questions about the 5 domains of social emotional learning? All right, wonderful. So tonight, like I mentioned, we're going to be focusing on self-awareness, and there's a couple components to self-awareness. So we have feelings identification, which is being able to name what we're feeling. And in order to do that, you want to build up your feelings vocabulary, because it's hard to name what you're feeling if you only have 5 feelings to choose from. And if you identify a feeling or say I'm feeling one way, for example, if you say you're feeling sad, but you're really feeling lonely, it's hard to convey to other people what you're really feeling and what you need. Identifying your strengths, so knowing what your strengths are and playing to them. So I love learning, and I'm always researching or looking up something new. And I always feel good at the end of the day if I've accomplished something and learned something new. So if I feel that day in particular that I didn't learn anything new, I'll Google 5 fun random facts before I go to bed. So that's playing to my strengths, because then I can go to bed feeling like, oh, I learned these new things. But everyone's a little different. Everyone's strengths and weaknesses are different. So identifying weaknesses, so knowing what your weaknesses are and then actively working to improve on them. And then knowing your morals and values. So who are you? What are your core beliefs? What things are important to you? So self-awareness is just having a really good general understanding of who you are as a person and what's important to you. So this is our fun fact for the night. Just naming an emotion you are feeling can decrease the intensity of that emotion, which is pretty wild. Recently, I was reading a study where individuals that are scared of spiders were put in the room with a spider in the cage so that the spider couldn't get them. But individuals who were able to name what they were feeling, such as scared, frightened, worried, were able to take more steps closer to the cage and the spider in the cage than individuals who did not name what they were feeling. So in instances where we're feeling a strong emotion, just saying I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel sad, I feel scared helps lessen the intensity of that emotion. So just being able to name it. Okay, so part of being able to identify what we're feeling includes having a good feelings vocabulary. So if you could just type in the chat box all the different feelings you can think of. All right, we have angry, happy, sad, frustrated, overwhelmed, surprised, ashamed, fearful, ooh, powerless, lonely, mad, courageous, ecstatic, excited, bored, yeah, jealous, disgusted, confident. Yeah, these are awesome words. So as you can tell, as we're getting into it, we're naming feeling words that that don't come to mind immediately, like happy, sad, angry, or I think the 3 that come to mind most quickly with me. But as I'm going through, I'm going, oh, sad, lonely, yeah, joyful, excited. Those convey a different level of intensity than, mad or sad. So it's important that we identify the feelings correctly so that others understand what we're feeling and we have a good understanding as well. So my challenge to you guys is to this week with your child, come up with as many feeling words as you can think of. Just write them down, have a piece of paper, jot them down, and then post them somewhere where you can see them. And then you can say, when you're experiencing a certain feeling, could be positive, negative, happy, sad, good, bad. You can go up to the fridge or wherever you've decided to post it and say, oh, this is what I'm feeling, this one. And you have that as a resource to you. Okay, so the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence came up with this ruler approach for identifying and understanding your emotions. So this is something that can be used pre-K through 12th, but even adults can use it. I think it's important that even adults learn these skills if they don't know them. And so the ruler stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating. So recognizing is that, what am I feeling? I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. The U is understanding I'm sorry, let me backtrack. The recognizing is recognizing that you're experiencing a feeling and kind of figuring out maybe what you're feeling. Understanding is having a good understanding of what that emotion is doing. So I recognize that I'm kind of starting to feel a certain way. I understand that my heart rate's picking up, that my breathing's becoming labored. And then we get into labeling. So, what emotion are you feeling? I'm feeling angry. And then expressing that emotion and regulating it. So, I feel angry. I might express it by saying I feel angry, but then I'm also going to regulate that. So instead of throwing a chair or yelling, I'm going to take some deep breaths. So the ruler approach is a great approach. The individual who does a lot of emotional intelligence research from Yale is called Mark Brackett, and he has several books that are pretty enjoyable reads. Right now I'm reading Permission to Feel from him. So if you're interested in more information there. I also have the website up at the top left here because you can find out more information from their website and you don't have to purchase a book or anything. Any questions about the ruler approach? All right. Speaking of Mark Brackett, he has the mood meter in his Permission to Feel book, and the mood meter was not developed by Mark Brackett, but I think it's very relevant here, and I think it's an important way to visualize your moods and feelings. So as we were talking about before, a big feelings vocabulary is important, being able to identify exactly what it is you're feeling. So this is the mood meter. On the left side, we have going up and down is the energy levels. So the higher you go up, the more energy you have, and the lower you go down, the less energy you have. On the bottom from left to right is pleasantness. So on the far right, we feel very pleasant, and on the far left, we feel not pleasant at all. So depending where you are will indicate how pleasant the feeling you're experiencing is and how much energy you have with it. So on the far, let's start with the blue quadrant. So the blue quadrant is I have very little energy, tired, I'm exhausted, and it's a very not pleasant feeling. So maybe I'm bored, discouraged, I'm miserable. Despair is the one in the very bottom left. So that is the least amount of energy and the least pleasant feeling. So as you're experiencing emotions and feelings and you're feeling low energy and you're feeling like this isn't pleasant, you can go into this quadrant and say, okay, I'm either like really in the blue quadrant, or I'm kind of in the middle, or I'm, just barely on the edge there. On the top left, we have high energy, but low pleasantness still. So we have extra energy, but it's still not a great feeling. So it could be something like shocked, frustrated, angry. The highest energy with the lowest pleasantness is enraged. So you can be, maybe deep in this red quadrant, you're enraged or furious, livid, panicked, or maybe you're kind of on the edge of another quadrant where you may be peeved, annoyed, uneasy. The yellow quadrant is a more pleasant feeling. So again, the further right we go, the more pleasant it is, and high energy. So I'm in the yellow zone quite a bit myself. So when you have high energy and high pleasantness, you might be feeling lively or motivated. Ecstatic is the most pleasant, most high energy. You might be feeling playful, pleasant. So these are the emotions that we're, excited about and that feel good. So you might, like I said, be really deep in it, and you might be all the way up at ecstatic, or you might be borderline another quadrant with joyful, hopeful, energized, or hyper. So our last quadrant is high pleasantness, but lower energy. So this is more where we're like secure, we're relaxed, we're chill. The highest pleasantness with the lowest energy is serene. So we're not having a lot of energy, but not in a lethargic, negative way. We're feeling pretty good. Any questions about the mood meter so far? right. Okay, we're going to talk about emotions in our bodies. So I'm going to need your help on this one. Where do you feel happiness? And let's do this color. All right, in our heart. Yep, where else might we feel happiness? Yeah, in our cheeks. I'm not an artist, so please forgive me. All right, let's talk about anger next. Where might we feel anger? Our fists. Where else? Our chest. Where else? Our head. Yeah. Might feel like we have steam coming out of our ears, right? All right. Where do we feel maybe anger? Or I'm sorry, sadness. We already did anger. Yeah, our shoulders. Our shoulders might feel heavy. Our stomach might be in knots. Yeah. So, as you can see here, we experience emotions in so many different places in our body, and everyone's a little bit different. So, I experience sadness more in my shoulders than my stomach, but someone else might experience it more in their stomach than their shoulders, or they might experience it in their head. So, it really depends on the person, and everyone's a little bit different. So, a fun activity you can do with your kids on this one is to get a really big piece of paper and to trace yourself or trace the student and then have them color in where they experience each emotion. So, you can even take that feelings list that you created earlier and they can write the feeling or draw the feeling or color code the feeling, however they want to do it, on this big piece of paper to show where they experience that emotion. Any questions about any of this? All right. Oops. Need to stop annotation. Perfect. Nope. Okay, so your homework is to practice naming at least 3 feelings a day. Try to list positive feelings too. Our inclination is only to list our negative feelings, but if we practice with saying our positive feelings when we have positive feelings, then we get in the habit of naming what we're feeling, and it's easier to do when we're experiencing those high pleasant emotions. So name their feelings, at least 3 feelings a day for both your student and the parent, and help support each other. If you notice that someone's having a hard time, say, hey, what are you feeling? Why don't you use one of your 3 times today? And you can always refer to your list of feelings wherever you keep them, whether it's on the fridge, the dining room table, whatever is most convenient. And next week, we are going to do self-management skills. So we're going to learn some ways that we can self-regulate. Here's some SCPS resources. So this recording will be available on our social emotional learning page, which is the first link listed here. And then we do have COVID-19 resources for parents, and there's that link there. Thank you so much for spending your night with me, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.